Hey kids, it's me, Ms. Young, and I'm here with my latest book recommendations. My school is about to start its Civil Rights Unit, and it's one of my favorite units each year, probably because there's some great books about the Civil Rights Movement. I'm here to share a few you might not have heard of. The first one is called Revolution, and it is by Deborah Wiles. I love this book because it gives a history of the 1960s and everything to do with the Civil Rights Movement. There's some great quotes, great pictures, and it really goes over the articles and different things going on during the 1960s. I totally recommend it. There's a sequel called Countdown by Deborah Wiles that also talks about that time period, and again, has great pictures, great ads from the time period, and a great story to go along with it. So those books are Revolution and Countdown by Deborah Wiles. Now, I know a lot of my students love verse novels, so I've got two to share with you today. The first is Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson. It's a National Book Award winner. It's amazing, and it is about Jacqueline's life growing up in the 1960s and moving from the South to the North and all the discrimination she faced and confusion she had about her race and growing up in America. Again, it's told in verse in different poems. It's a quick read, and it is just beautifully written, and it has great meaning, and all my students always fight over my copies. Last, if you love verse novels, kids, here's another one of my favorites that takes place in the 1960s. It's called Full Cicada Moon. It's about a girl named Mimi who's half Asian, half African American, and she has to move up to the Northeast, up by Vermont and Maine, and people there are mostly white, and so it's about what it's like to make a white friend, to go to school and not fit in, to want to be a girl who explores things instead of a girl that's held back, and she's obsessed with space, and this takes place right before we land on the moon for the first time. So Full Cicada Moon is a beautiful story that deals with race, growing up a girl in the 1960s, and everything else. The last book I want to share is Stella By Starlight. It's by Sharon Draper, who's an author that just always has great books, and this one is no exception. Stella By Starlight is about a girl who sneaks out of her house one night, and she witnesses a meeting of the KKK, and she decides to become a journalist and record what they're planning on doing. There's a lot of danger involved and a lot of action, but it's also a great story about standing up for what you believe. So these great books would be great for any reader who's interested in the Civil Rights Movement period or the 1960s, like me.